Look at what has happened. The Western world has been ruling over mankind for the last 300 years or more, and changing regimes all over the world, willy-nilly, particularly in South and Central America. They use the Monroe Doctrine. This is our backyard. Nobody comes into our backyard. And so they've been changing regimes willy-nilly all over Central and South America for the last 200 years. Why have they not been able to change the regime in Venezuela, the government of Venezuela, because it's an elected government? Why? Answer, they've done everything they could do. There's nothing else they can do now. But they've not been able to change the Venezuelan government, the legitimate Venezuelan government. Why? Because they cannot invade. There's no military option. Why is there no military option when this is in your backyard? The answer is that if they try to change the government of Venezuela through a military intervention, they'll have to face Russia. And they don't want to face Russia because Russia is not Libya. Russia is too powerful for them. That's why they have not been able to invade Venezuela. Number two, we have pointed out that Russia took a tremendously dangerous step when Russia intervened to save Syria. It could have led to nuclear war. But with indescribable courage and integrity, and with the entire people of the Russian Federation supporting their government, Russia intervened in Syria and blasted the bogus jihad, the ISIS jihad, which was created and funded and manufactured by the CIA and by the puppy dogs of the CIA, by Saudi Arabia, by Qatar, and of course, who else? Turkey. Turkey was up to the neck in the effort to overthrow the Syrian government. And Russia has succeeded. The Western world have never known this before. There's a force so powerful that they can defeat the West. And that's what Russia did in Syria. But the one that hurt the most, for the West was when they suffered the greatest defeat in the entire history of modern Western civilization. And that is in 2014 when they lost Crimea. Russia took Crimea, or rather took back Crimea, because Crimea belonged to Russia. Russia took back Crimea in 2 weeks without firing a shot. And for this, they have never forgiven themselves. Russia is now facing this bitter hatred and envy from the West because of the power that Russia now has, and Russia is not prepared to bend on its knee and submit to them. The West has suffered yet another defeat in Afghanistan, and it was a humiliating defeat. They have only themselves to blame for almost 20 years. So many they have killed in Afghanistan, and yet they were defeated. Afghanistan is known as the graveyard of the superpowers. And now what is happening is that there is an incremental effort, beginning with the regime change in Ukraine in 2014, to bring Ukraine into NATO. If Ukraine ever becomes a NATO member state, then Russia will have NATO on its very border, and NATO's missiles, nuclear missiles, can hit Moscow in a matter of minutes. This is not a security option that Russia is prepared to accept at all. And so Russia has put its foot down. This is our red line. Whether you accept our red line or you don't accept our red line, that's your choice. This is our red line, that we will not allow a next-door neighbor state to pose such a tremendously dangerous threat to our security. So we're going to take steps to ensure the protection of our own security. This is Russia's decision, and Russia has every right to ensure its security. When the Soviet Union wanted to put nuclear-armed missiles in Cuba, the Kennedy administration decided that this was too great a security threat for the United States. And so they put a quarantine around Cuba, that they would not allow any Soviet ships to enter Cuba without being searched, so that no nuclear missiles can be shipped to Cuba. And that was 1962, and the world watched. We were on the brink of nuclear war. Does Cuba have the right? Does Cuba have the right to do what it wants on its own territory? At that time, the United States says, no, Cuba does not have the right to pose a significant threat to the United States. And so the United States intervened, and American ships, the Navy, surrounded Cuba. And the Soviet ships were coming with missiles. And when they almost reached Cuba, and there was going to be confrontation, the Soviet ships turned around and went back home. And so nuclear war was averted. Let us remind all those who are beating the drums for Ukraine today, including those in Turkey who are beating the drums for Ukraine. Let us remind you, if you need to be reminded, that in the same way that the United States expressed its concern for its own security and would not allow Cuba to have nuclear missiles that could reach the United States, similarly, Russia has to be recognized to have a right to protect its own security. It is a superpower. It's the most powerful military power in the world today. And so that is the moral argument and the political argument. For those who say, no, Ukraine has the right to do what Ukraine wants to do. Well, fine. You cross the red line and you see what's going to happen. Russia is not going to back down. This is the first point I want to mention to you. So if these fools with a capital F in NATO decides to continue on this foolish path, they will take mankind to nuclear war, and they're the ones to be blamed for it. The second point I want to make is that Russia is attempting to change its strategic environment in such a way that the grave threat to Russian security can be diminished. And for this reason, Russia has amassed more than 100,000 troops, Russian troops, and all the hardware you need, all the military supplies you need for war on the Ukrainian border, the border between Ukraine and Russia. Will Russia invade Ukraine? No. I don't think Russia is so foolish, unless, of course, somebody wants to force a war, and somebody causes the fireworks to start. There are always those who want to get war. And Allah speaks of it in the Quran. They want the war to take place, but Allah comes and He prevents the war. So unless and until there is someone who causes a pretext for war to start, Russia will not, I believe, intervene militarily to invade Ukraine. I think I'm correct in that analysis. Well then, what else? The amassing of all of these troops on the Ukrainian border is a show of force. And that show of force is meant to deliver a message, a military message, a political message, an economic message, but most importantly, a psychological message. And eventually that message will reach the hearts of the Ukrainian people. You cannot be a Ukraine next door to Russia and adopt this position of hostility and posing a grave, grave, grave danger to Russian security. That is not possible. So you will find eventually, I believe, that this Russian show of force, that's what it is, a show of force, will have the effect of bringing about a change in the strategic environment, particularly in terms of psychological change in the hearts of the Ukrainian people. So you can relax. I don't believe there's going to be a nuclear war between Russia and Ukraine. But keep watching, because they are provoking war. They're trying to get Russia to launch a war. That's what they want, but Russia is not that stupid. What is very sad, and of course there are people who have eyes, they can't see, they have ears, they can't hear, they have hearts, they can't understand. They're just like cattle. Why is Turkey still in NATO? Why? They don't know. They can't answer. They don't want to answer. They prefer to eat their biryani and go home and sleep rather to answer that question. In defiance of Allah's command in the Quran, Turkey is in NATO and remaining in NATO. But also, Turkey is building fraternal relations with Russia. At the same time, while you're doing that, you act in such a provocative way. You are arming, you're selling weapons to Ukraine, you're supporting Ukraine against Russia. Why is Turkey behaving in such a reckless way? Is there nobody who can teach a lesson to this reckless man who is ruling over Turkey and who wants the world of Islam to recognize him as a leader of the world of Islam? This man is recklessly misguided, and if he continues on this path, just remember that if war with Russia does start, the NATO missile
senjata biologis yang didukung oleh Amerika Serikat. Bukti tudingan tersebut belum terungkap secara terbuka ke publik. Di tengah invasi militer Rusia ke Ukraina, isu mengenai pengembangan senjata biologis kembali muncul. Dikutip dari Sputnik, militer Rusia mulai menarik kembali tirai pada skala dan cakupan jaringan bioleg yang didanai Pentagon di Ukraina pekan lalu. Pejabat dari media Amerika Serikat pada awalnya menolak pengungkapan ini sebagai disinformasi Rusia, tetapi dipaksa untuk memperbaiki narasi tersebut setelah Wakil Menteri Luar Negeri Nurlen mengakui bahwa laboratorium semacam itu memang ada.
We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forgive. We will not forget.
Juru bicara Kementerian Luar Negeri China, Zhao Lijian, mengatakan sebelumnya bahwa Beijing menuntut Amerika Serikat untuk transparansi penuh dari kegiatan biologis militernya untuk membantu memperkuat keamanan global. Dikutip dari TASS, Amerika Serikat harus menanggapi keprihatinan global dan memberikan laporan lengkap tentang kegiatan laboratorium biologi militernya di Ukraina dan negara-negara lain, kata surat kabar China Daily dalam tajuk rencana pada hari Sabtu. Menurut data resmi, Amerika Serikat memiliki 26 biolab dan fasilitas terkait lainnya di Ukraina, di mana Pentagon memiliki komando penuh, tulis editorial tersebut. Aktivitas militer biologis merupakan ancaman besar bagi perdamaian dan keamanan internasional, serta kepentingan keamanan semua negara. Karena itu, sangat penting bagi Washington untuk menanggapi secara serius kekhawatiran global dengan cara yang terbuka, transparan, dan bertanggung jawab, dan memberikan pertanggungjawaban penuh aktivitas militer biologisnya di dalam dan di luar negeri dan tunduk pada verifikasi multilateral, kata China Daily.
CIA mempersenjatai teroris itu sudah berlangsung sejak tahun 80-an. Ketika itu, Iran sedang diembargo. CIA malah jual senjata ke Iran. Duitnya digunakan untuk mendanai teroris kontra di Nicaragua. Dapat duit kiri kanan. Jual senjata ke Iran yang sedang diembargo jelas melanggar hukum. duitnya digunakan buat danai teroris kontra yang juga dilarang oleh Kongres. Jadi ada dua pelanggaran hukum serius yang dilakukan oleh CIA. CIA ini memang kriminal, menghalalkan segala cara untuk mencapai tujuan politiknya, tapi bukan untuk Amerika. Yang diuntungkan adalah para kontraktor besar senjata militer seperti Adnan Khashoggi dan lain-lain, elit global. CIA danai teroris kontra alasannya untuk menggulingkan pemerintahan komunis di Nicaragua. Itu cuma kedok supaya CIA bisa dagang kokain dan senjata sambil membunuhi rakyat sipil di Nicaragua yang nggak tahu apa-apa soal politik. Itu sebabnya Kongres melarang CIA untuk bentuk kontra. Karena dilarang, anggarannya di-stop, maka duit hasil jual senjata ke Iran dipakai buat danai kontra. Itu baru namanya konspirare, bernapas bersama dalam persekongkolan jahat. CIA jual senjata ke Iran, alasannya untuk membebaskan warga Amerika yang disandra oleh Islamic Jihad Organization. Jual senjata pada teroris yang menyandera warganya sendiri. Lewat investigasi dokumen-dokumen rahasia, belakangan terbukti bahwa sebelum ada sandera pun, CIA memang sudah bertahun-tahun jual senjata ke Iran di tengah embargo lewat Israel. Jadi sandera itu cuma alasan yang sangat diharapkan oleh para elit industri militer. Sebab dengan alasan membebaskan sandera, volume dagangnya jadi semakin besar. Perang dan terorisme adalah uang. Makin banyak korban, makin bagus. Skandal Iran Kontra itu adalah program resmi CIA, bukan perbuatan oknum. Letkol Oliver North bersumpah bahwa apa yang dia lakukan itu adalah program resmi CIA yang diketahui oleh Presiden Reagan. Tapi yang namanya politik, begitu apes ketahuan, bos-bos cuci tangan. Oliver North dan kawan-kawan dijadikan tumbal seolah perbuatan oknum.
I will tell you right now, Council, and all the members here gathered, that I misled the Congress.
Setelah mempersenjatai teroris Hezbollah di Timur Tengah, CIA kemudian mendanai mujahidin di Afghanistan yang kemudian menjelma jadi teroris Al-Qaeda dan Taliban. Aktor intelektualnya adalah ini, Zbigniew Brzezinski, National Security Advisor untuk Presiden Carter. Ide brilian untuk mendanai dan melatih teroris mujahidin itu datangnya dari Brzezinski ini di era Presiden Carter. Semua orang mengira CIA melatih mujahidin untuk melawan komunis Soviet. Padahal kenyataannya justru sebaliknya. Menurut pengakuan Brzezinski, CIA mendanai mujahidin sebelum Soviet menginvasi Afghanistan. Bahkan Soviet menginvasi militer Afghanistan justru karena mendengar CIA melatih mujahidin. Luar biasa. Sepak terjang CIA di alam nyata ini lebih mengejutkan dari film-film spy Hollywood. Jadi kebalik, bukan CIA mendanai mujahidin buat lawan komunis, tapi CIA sengaja provokasi mendanai mujahidin supaya Soviet marah dan menginvasi Afghanistan. Maka jadilah proyek perang yang baru. Baik Al-Qaeda maupun Taliban adalah transformasi dari mujahidin ini. Bedanya, Taliban itu bermuara pada budaya Afghanistan. Al-Qaeda basicnya adalah aliran Wahabi yang berasal dari Arab Saudi. Memang Arab Saudi dan Inggris ikut mendanai dan melatih mujahidin.
I mean, let's remember here, the people we are fighting today, we funded. Let's deal with the ISI and the Pakistani military, and let's go recruit these mujahideen, and let's get some to come from Saudi Arabia and other places, importing their Wahhabi brand of Islam.
Arab Saudi adalah sekutu Amerika dan Inggris. Hubungan Raja Saudi dengan Presiden Bush sangat mesra.
Pandangan pertama awal aku berjumpa, pandangan pertama awal aku berjumpa, seolah-olah hanya impian yang berlalu. Sungguh tak kusangka dan rasa tak percaya.
Benang merahnya adalah keluarga Bin Laden, kontraktor besar Arab Saudi yang jadi angel investor alias cukong malaikat untuk George Bush sejak masih jadi gubernur Texas. Dia juga. Al-Qaeda kemudian jadi sangat terkenal dengan kasus 9/11. Supaya nggak kepanjangan, tentang 9/11 ini akan kita bahas pada episode terpisah yang akan ditayangkan untuk memperingati 20 tahun kebohongannya tanggal 11 September 2021 mendatang. Selanjutnya, setelah mempersenjatai teroris Hizbullah, Mujahidin, Taliban, Al-Qaeda yang berujung pada 9/11, CIA kemudian membentuk organisasi teroris baru yang paling ngetop di zaman medsos ini, ISIS. Tentang teroris ISIS dilatih dan didanai oleh CIA, itu bukan kata saya. Saya selalu bicara dengan fakta dan data yang kredibel, bukan asal ngecap. Kita dengar pernyataan 3 orang presiden negeri adik kuasa, Presiden Obama, Presiden Putin, dan Presiden Trump. Kita mulai dari Presiden Obama yang mengatakan bahwa CIA melatih tentara ISIL alias ISIS.
So with the additional steps I ordered last month, we're speeding up training of ISIL forces, including volunteers from Sunni tribes in Anbar province.
Obama itu bukan salah ngomong atau keceplosan, nggak ada relat setelah itu. Kalau kita perhatikan gestur tubuh pengawalnya ketika Obama bilang percepat pelatihan tentara ISIS, nggak ada gestur penolakan, kaget, atau protes, karena memang ucapan Obama itu benar.
So with the additional steps I ordered last month, we're speeding up training of ISIL forces, including volunteers from Sunni tribes in Anbar province.
Hal ini juga terkonfirmasi dengan berita di New York Times. Dulu disebutnya perang rahasia CIA di Syria. Bahkan disebut anggarannya $1 miliar atau sekitar 14 triliun rupiah buat latih tentara ISIS, beli peralatan militer dan lain-lain dengan alasan untuk menggulingkan pemerintahan Presiden Assad di Syria. Waktu Obama pidato itu, ISIS belum dicap sebagai teroris global. Jadi dia nyantai aja nyebut percepat pelatihan tentara ISIL. Yang paling clear adalah pernyataan Presiden Putin. Ia menjelaskan secara detail bagaimana modus CIA menciptakan teroris ISIS. Rekaman videonya ada. Putin bicara dalam bahasa Rusia, tapi ada terjemahan otomatis dalam bahasa Inggris. Silakan search sendiri video aslinya. Untuk mempersingkat pembahasan, saya sampaikan ikhtisarnya saja. CIA mempersenjatai ISIS untuk menjatuhkan pemerintahan Syria yang dipimpin oleh Presiden Assad. CIA merekrut tentara-tentara bayaran yang kemudian disuruh ngaku sebagai tentara ISIS. Yang namanya tentara bayaran itu ikut pihak mana saja yang bayar lebih besar. Putin bahkan tahu berapa anggaran buat tentara bayaran ISIS. Jadi modusnya CIA hire tentara bayaran, pasok senjata dan mobil-mobil Toyota buat ISIS. Modal senjata dan mobil-mobil itu digunakan untuk menjarah ladang-ladang minyak di Irak dan Syria, kemudian menjual minyak jarahan itu pada sekutu. Ini adalah modus pendanaan teroris gaya baru. Mendanai teroris bukannya hilang duit, malah dapat untung dari penjualan minyak yang dijarah oleh teroris ISIS. Dan lucunya, nggak ada sanksi internasional buat negara-negara penada minyak jarahan ISIS itu. Ini adalah konspirasi tingkat dewa. CIA kemudian sengaja mengebom ladang-ladang minyak yang dijarah oleh ISIS sambil diam-diam salurkan dana tambahan buat rekrut tentara-tentara baru, sehingga makin banyak rakyat yang ikut bergabung dengan ISIS karena duit. Selanjutnya adalah pernyataan dari presiden yang ketiga, Donald Trump. Sebelumnya kita kilas balik sebentar pernyataan dari Mensesnek Hillary Clinton dan Presiden Obama agar nyambung dengan pernyataan Presiden Trump.
The people we are fighting today, we funded.
So with the additional steps I ordered last month, we're speeding up training of ISIL forces, including volunteers from Sunni tribes in Anbar province.
They have a bunch of dishonest people. They've created ISIS. Hillary Clinton created ISIS with Obama.
lain yang sangat mengejutkan adalah Pentagon bayar konsultan public relations dari Inggris $500 juta untuk bikin video-video propaganda palsu Al-Qaeda. Ini adalah taktik buat nakut-nakutin rakyat supaya anggaran perang dan terorisme makin besar. Apalagi di zaman medsos ini, bikin video palsu disebar sendiri oleh rakyat. Makin sukseslah propaganda ketakutan. Kesimpulannya, Hizbullah, Mujahidin, Taliban, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, semua itu adalah bahaya yang nyata. Mereka memang dilatih dan didanai oleh CIA untuk membuat kerusakan di dunia. Terorisme di Indonesia juga nyata. Terorisme harus dibasmi. Yang harus diwaspadai adalah udang di balik terorisme, udang di balik pandemi, udang di balik utang. Dia juga. Mereka tak akan berhenti mengadu domba, memecah belah negara-negara besar seperti Indonesia, supaya lemah dan makin gampang didikte. Penjajahan gaya baru, nekolim. CIA, WHO, IMF, World Bank adalah perpanjangan tangan mereka.
Поставленные задачи, безусловно, будут решены. Мы надежно обеспечим безопасность России и нашего народа. И никогда не допустим, чтобы Украина служила плацдармом для агрессивных действий против нашей страны. Подводит черту под надежностью так называемых первоклассных активов. По факту и США, и ЕС объявили на самый настоящий дефолт по своим обязательствам перед Россией. Теперь каждый знает, что финансовые резервы могут быть попросту украдены.
Include drones, which demonstrates our commitment to sending our most cutting-edge systems to Ukraine for its defense. And we're not doing this alone. Our allies and partners have stepped up to provide significant shipments of security assistance and will continue to help facilitate these deliveries as well. The United States and our allies and partners are fully committed to surging weapons of assistance to the Ukrainians. And more will be coming as we source additional stocks of equipment that we're ready to transport.
Ahmed! Allah